Hi, I'm Jason Gorber for ThatShelf.com, and we're here to look at The Doors, 1967 to 1971 Immersed, the new Atmos set of The Doors in Surround.
Thanks, Shelf.
So, yet another Doors release. Um, Fans of this band, I'm sure, are both overjoyed and a bit miffed that they keep having boxes and elements that actually come to celebrate this band. This is not the first surround box set. It's not the first one that's had similar words like immersed on it. And we're going to talk a little bit about that. But this is a brand new release that is forthcoming that includes all the Doors studio albums newly mixed into Atmos. You can hear these Atmos mixes a lot of times on some of the streaming services, but of course, much higher resolution, much higher bit rate, as it were, on the actual Blu-rays that are included here. Let's talk a little bit about Doors and Surround. So the first thing that I ever had was this guy. This is a DVD audio, for those that don't know. This was part of the format war between the likes of Warner and the likes of Sony, between SACD and DVD audio. It's interesting because DVD audio was actually doing really well. SACD was even more niche, but now in 2025, SACD is actually continuing to churn out. There's tons of people that are actually releasing actually proper DSD files. Some people are even recording in DSD and actually releasing them that way. So it is interesting how in the niche of the niche of the niche of physical media, DVD audio has sort of gone away in favor of Blu-ray audio, which I guess is sort of a cousin, which is what we're dealing with here. But nonetheless, the MLP and all this sort of technology that they actually used to do this became superfluous once you actually had lossless surround formats like DTS HD or Dolby's True Audio, or of course Atmos, which in itself can be lossless multi-channel, not only 5.1 or 7.1, but actually object-based surround. Nonetheless, this was LA Woman in surround. It had, in these sort of special, I forget what these called. It's not a super clam case because that's the SACD one. But whatever this guy is, the bigger one, it's not so great for fitting on your shelf, but the surround mix was the original 5.1 mixes was pretty decent. And remember, this is their last record, which means this is the one that has the most tracks to work with. This was done straight from the multi tracks and sort of mixed out. Added a little bit of reverb, a little bit of stuff in the back, and especially for films. Keep doing that because it's such a cinematic songs. Songs like Riders in the Storm, which has this sort of sweeping, thunderous note, that was the way to go. There was another box set that Analog Productions actually released. They released the vinyl as the sort of 2x45 RPM set in a giant box set. At the time, I bought the SACDs. I bought the 5.1 mix of SACDs of all the records. And I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the surround mixes, etc. But I ended up selling it because I got a good deal on it. I had bought it originally at retail, and I knew somebody that really actually wanted to get the 5.1 mixes, and so that is no longer part of my collection. But what has been part of my collection for a little while is the Doors' Greatest Hits, which has been more than sufficient. The definitive hits album that sold over 10 million copies. Yeah, 10 times platinum, gem there, looking particularly messianic. And this had sort of a nice sort of overview of a bunch of stuff that was drawn from, obviously, all of their records. And for most Doors fans, this will be more than sufficient. This limited edition Blu-ray includes the Dolby Atmos mix, the 5.1 surround mix, high-res stereo, and all mixes by Bruce Botnick, the legendary mixing engineer Bruce Botnick, who did all the mixes, including the Atmos mix. So that's what was included here. Everything, again, from break on through to the end, so fittingly included on this guy. Which then brings us to this. This is the immersed box set, which includes all of the titles. Here we have the first Doors record. We have Strange Days. We have Waiting for the Sun. We have Soft Parade. We have Morrison Hotel. And we have LA Woman. And each disc is in these sort of mini LP covers. I'll just show it with the self-titled, sort of a replicant. Where's my head today? I'm thinking very Blade Runnering. Here's the Doors self-titled. Open up. It's a replica of a gatefold version. The Electra inner in there to actually show that off, and then each disc is actually nicely. It's in a paper. It's not polylined, but it's a paper sleeve, so that it's not against the sort of rougher cardboard. I will put this on a poly sleeve because, of course, I will. But the discs themselves are then simply sort of similar artwork to what would have been on the sticker on the inside. And yeah, going right from the first album until their last album. So also included inside is this little sort of, I mean, it's not quite a booklet, it's a single page, but it includes who did their worldwide management. So it does talk about the original stereo 5.1 surround and Dolby Atmos mixes by Bruce Botnick. So he did all of them, project supervision, etc. Mastering Blu-ray authoring by Craig Anderson and David Deckman. Shout out to the Blu-ray masters. Art direction, etc., etc. Special thanks, etc. And it's got the Electra, the Rhino, the Doors logo, the Dolby Atmos logo, and the Blu-ray logo, because of course these are just standard Blu-rays. These will play on any Blu-ray player. Any surround system you have, you'll be able to get a bunch out of this, including if you don't have Atmos. The Atmos will actually fold down. That's one of the beautiful things about Atmos that we've talked about before. And so on the back, we have a little spiel from Bruce Botnick. Once upon a time, and not too long ago, there was AM radio, and the top 10 playlist was championed by a local DJ who played your favorite Doors song every hour in beautiful amplitude modulated mono sound, aka AM radio. This box set includes the original Doors album in high resolution stereo, so 192/24, as well as remixes of 5.1 surround sound and immersive 12-channel Atmos. With Atmos, having loudspeakers on the ceiling allows riders in the storm, for example, to really come alive with the rain and thunder, and in hoarse latitudes, it highlights the theatrical claustrophobia of Jim's poetry. Because of vinyl's time limits and the FCC morality rules for over-the-air broadcasting, we sometimes left off extended verses, choruses, and vocals. Paul Rothschild so aptly called it the F barrier. I'll just not say the word that he says here. No bad words like the word hi, which caused the Doors to be banned from the Ed Sullivan Show. The Doors will never get old, Bruce Botnick. Well, the Doors might not ever get old, but we certainly will. So, how do the mixes sort of work out? So I'm going to try something a little bit differently this time. What I've done is, on my setup, is I can actually sort of turn off the main speakers, if it makes sense. I'm turning off my main 7-channel bed layer, the left, center, right, side surrounds, and rear surrounds. And then I have essentially the LFEs still on because I don't want to bother turning off the subwoofer. But I can have, in my case, I have a 7.1.6, so a 15-channel setup. And then you'll actually be able to hear what is sort of buried in those Atmos mixes. And I'm going to try it. We're going to record it in stereo. We'll see how it actually works. If you're interested in this sort of thing, I have a number of other discs that I would love to do this with. I'm trying to obviously avoid copyright strikes, but we're trying to just show here what actually is in those mixes. Not because they were ever meant to be heard by themselves, but it's just fascinating in terms of the mixing philosophy. This is what I actually really love about this sort of surround things, is I never see them, for some records for sure, they become the definitive. I mean, the only one that really comes to mind is the definitive 5.1 mix of Yoshimi Balza Pink Robots. Or I have 2-channel mixes of things like Polyphonic Spree, but in surround sound, they're just absolutely glorious. But for other records, fundamentally, it's just another way of presenting it. Just like I can watch a band live, or I can listen to the original recording. I just see it as a sort of another flavor. So what is interesting, and we're sort of contrasting these two, because I think that's pretty fundamental. We're contrasting the one that was recorded originally, I guess, on 4-track. So there's not much to actually extract. They could have done the whole sort of get back, extract each instrument and do that, but they didn't really do that. So the Atmos mix of this stuff, and I think the end is sort of a perfectly good exemplar, as is Break On Through, sort of track 1 and the last track, was it track 11 on this record, shows off what it can do. And we'll just play a little bit clip of this now. And you'll actually see that mostly what it is another mode of ambience. Yes, stuff's coming from the equivalent of ceiling speakers. Mine are sort of slightly higher. They're not quite ceiling because I have a narrow ceiling. Talked about that before. But nonetheless, those tracks, I have 6 speakers for my Atmos layer, as I mentioned. And what you're going to hear here is it's going to sound muddy and it's going to sound like it's in another room because that's really how it's mixed. I'm just basically setting up a Zoom recorder in stereo and just sort of giving you a sense of the room. It's not going to be great fidelity. I recommend actually listening on headphones if you can, just so you get a sense of what it is. And you'll see really quickly that what's included on here is essentially ambience. That's what we're getting. We're not getting anything super adventurous, but it's filling out a little. In other words, it's taking a normal 5-1 mix and sort of expanding it for something that already was pretty straightforward. So let's take a listen to the stuff on the Doors self-titled record. Their last recording, so which meant the recording technology had improved significantly. We have different ability to actually have the multi-track elements, and this is a much more adventurous surround mix, as it always was back to this thing. But the Atmos mix really exemplifies that. I mean, Bruce actually gave a shout out to the way that the thunder sort of rolls around. It's going to be hard to hear. You're listening in stereo and then it's compressed on YouTube. It's not going to be anywhere near as good as it is in here. But the actual thunder, he actually has it sort of go around. It's the kind of showy Atmos stuff. I remember a lot of surround mixes, especially back in the day, used to absolutely sort of throw a bunch of stuff into the rear or the side channels, just to say, look, that way you paid for your speakers, you're going to actually want to do that. That is sort of not the way that I normally prefer. I prefer something that absolutely is fully integrated with the song. And for that particular song, it's good to be obnoxious. The thunder is going. And you'll hear that they actually included some of the studio chatter on that. So that's on Riders in the Storm. And yeah, if you hear a little bit of LA Woman, you can hear some of the instrumentation. We'll just have a brief listen to that. Again, trying to avoid copy strikes as much as I can. But just to give you a sense of sort of what is buried in the Atmos mix for those that might not have this set up. Very different. And what I love about this is the ability to actually, again, pull out those different instrumental elements there to actually see how it all plays out.
Take 10, Riders on the Storm. Hey, that's a good idea. That'd be good if we get it. You could do it with something. Alright. Send out to Arizona for some good thunder. My house. Hey, wait a minute. Are we serious now? Are we serious? This is take 10 now. Never be take 10 again. Alright, Riders on the Storm, take 10. Mark that. Storm. Riders on the storm. Into this house we're born. Into this world we're thrown. Like a dog without a bone, an actor out alone. Riders on the storm.
So you can see with all of these differences, radically different mixing choices because, of course, radically different sources. And these are the sort of, the first and the last record. If you go through these, and I was just giving sort of a smattering of the listening, they're just a lot of fun. And even if it's not so Atmos-y, like I can understand people complain about this, like, why does this need to be Atmos? Well, of course it doesn't. You can listen to it in 2-channel if you want. Heck, you can listen to it in mono if you want. There's certainly mono releases of this. But giving you the opportunity to actually sort of experience this in Bruce Botnick's different vision of it, why not? Doesn't ruin anything about the original. I have the stereo box set. I have different iterations. And again, Doors are hardly one of my favorite bands of all time, but nonetheless, just an ability to sort of experience these records with a little bit more feeling that you're sort of in the middle of the show, as it were, and that's a lot of fun. They certainly sound good. The source material, their ability to actually get a real excellent 24-192 sound is fantastic. The equalization is actually quite interesting, the difference, because again, there is the 5.1, his original 5.1 mixes that were originally put on the SACDs are on here. I believe they're the original 5.1s. I may be incorrect. I know people know a lot more about this than I do. I believe that there were actually multiple 5.1 mixes, the SACDs, and then sort of more modern ones. Regardless, just me flipping back and forth between the 5.1s on this, there's tremendous, not only mix differences, but equalization differences. In other words, mastering differences. And if you go from the stereo to the 5.1 to the Atmos, you're going to hear 3 different presentations of the same record. And if you love this record, why not? Put it on, flip back and forth. One of the frustrating things about my system is that the beginning of a track is usually truncated unless it actually starts out. What's actually interesting is for most of these, when I find the chapter breaks, it's actually going to the end of the last track before the new one starts, which actually works out well for my Atmos. But for stuff like Break On Through, where you have the drums right at the beginning, the cross stick thing happening, I'm actually even if I just play it and then immediately fast forward back, I'm still missing the beginning. Welcome to the joys of sometimes digital handshaking. It's just all this stuff that we got to deal with. Things can't be perfect all along, as much as we fight and spend our life savings to actually make it happen. Nonetheless, do I think this box set is worthwhile? I think if you do not have a surround mix of the Doors, absolutely. Would I go for this guy over this guy? Well, if you're just a casual Doors fan, of course. But frankly, so many of the great songs on the Doors are actually album tracks. There's some amazing, amazing stuff on here. And I, for years, basically listened to the Doors as a greatest hits band, but it took me a while to actually fully appreciate how they work as an album band, of sitting down and listening to the entire thing as a story, essentially, letting the poetry sort of speak to in between each songs, letting the instrumentation play, seeing how different tracks that seem very disparate on this might actually go together when they're actually sequenced in a real elegant way on the record. So absolutely no-brainer. Anybody who has the existing 5.1 set, is the jump in Atmos sufficient? Well, again, I can't really answer it for you, but I'm just pleased that I have the Atmos. I have this rather than the just the 5.1 disc, because I have the ability to sort of flip back and forth between the two of them. And plus, I have the high-resolution stereo on this. Is this stereo as good as the DSD, which itself would have been sourced from a digital master? I'll let other people fight that one out. For me, this easily becomes the definitive digital version of the Doors for me. If I'm listening to it in digital, this is the way I'll be doing it. And the sort of Rhino set, the vinyl set, is how I'm going to listen to it when I'm listening to 2-channel. And being able to go back and forth is just one of the joys of this hobby. So yeah, there's our quick look at the Doors Immersed 1967 to 1971, available now in Atmos on Blu-ray audio, with the 6 Doors albums given sort of a 2025 presentation. Hope you enjoyed the video. Please let me know in the comments whether or not it was beneficial to actually do the audio stuff. It's obviously a little bit of a schlep to do. So if you think that it's actually worthwhile, I'm more than happy to incorporate in other videos. I'm hoping, as long as they're there, if they got edited out, that's because I got a copyright strike against it. But I believe that this obviously should fall under fair use, so we'll see how that actually plays out. But just always experimenting, just as the Doors were experimental, let's experiment with hearing and showcasing some of the elements of the Atmos mix of the Doors. Thank you so much for watching. Subscribe, follow us on social media. We got plenty more to actually look at. Got a slew of discs that actually just showed up. So if you're a fan of surround music, fan of music in general, I would really love the support on the channel. It really means a lot. Thank you to all of my new followers, and we'll see you next video. All the best. Take care.